First and foremost, how has your spring training been?
It was good. Long spring training, but the weather was really nice down in Arizona, and got to see a lot of guys throw and get a lot of good innings in, so it was good. It was a good time.
Why the number 24?
So it was just kind of the number I got when I got here last year, and when they asked me what number I wanted, it just seemed fitting to keep the 24 again. So I just kind of rolled with it.
Did you play any other sports growing up, or has it always been baseball?
Baseball's always been the main one. I played a little bit of everything, like football with my friends, basketball, a little bit of deck hockey, but baseball was always the one that I loved the most and played the most, so that's why I kind of propelled forward.
So before you were signed with the Dodgers, you were actually playing indie ball. Talk to me about that experience of playing baseball.
It's really interesting. So it's not too much different than playing with an affiliated team. The schedule's a little bit weird. They do like the 3-game schedule instead of the long 6 ones. The travel's a little bit different. The pay's a little bit different, but it's really interesting. You get to meet a lot of guys from a lot of different parts of the world, a lot of different backgrounds. I've played with guys that had 2 or 3 years of MLB time. I played with guys that never pitched above NAIA. So it's really a cool experience to get to meet a lot of different people and see how baseball outside of the affiliate world works.
Mm-hmm. So I saw this video of you from Tread Athletics. I remember I was just on YouTube one night and you came up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Jake Pilarski. Talk to me about making the decision to go to them to help you during the off season between indie ball, correct?
Yeah, so after my second year of indie ball, I had kind of a little bit of an injury-plagued season, so I didn't get as many looks as I wanted to. So I wanted some help. I think everyone reaches a point in their career where they can only do so much for themselves, and I kind of hit that point. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know what else to do to get myself out of indie ball and eventually signed by the Dodgers. So I actually had a really good friend that I played with in college. His name is Paul Hall, who works for Tread. So I reached out to him and was like, hey man, like what can you guys do? Like what do you think you guys can help me out? And he said, of course. So they got me hooked up with Tread Athletics. They hooked me up with a coach. His name's Turner Givens, great dude. And they started working with me, helped get my name out there to all the organizations, and eventually land the Dodgers with a contract. So,
what was it like getting the call saying that they want to sign you?
It was actually kind of nerve-wracking. So at the time I was giving baseball lessons at home to like little kids, and I was in the middle of a lesson and my phone kept ringing, and I just because you're at work, you don't answer your phone, so I just kept ignoring it. And then actually one of my coworkers comes upstairs and said, hey man, you need to answer your phone right now. I was like, why? He's like, because they're trying to call you and you keep blowing them off. And I'm like, oh no. So thankfully the kid I was with was a really great kid, great family. So they let me step aside for a second and first answer Tread because they were calling me, and they're like, hey, Will Rhymes is trying to call you. And I'm like, okay. So then I answered Will, and that's when I found out. And it was a great moment. I probably drove way too fast to go home and tell my parents about it, but it was awesome. And I kind of feel bad blowing off Will a little bit there, but I didn't want to answer my phone during work, but it was an awesome experience.
What was that moment like when you told your parents that they want to sign you?
I didn't think my mom believed me at first. Obviously, like when I threw the bullpen, and there was a lot of hype behind it. So I kind of had like a good feeling that something was going to happen. I didn't know who, I didn't know where, but I was like, 30 teams, hopefully somebody takes a chance. So we were kind of all like just waiting for someone to finally pull the trigger. And I think my mom kind of rooting for the Pirates being a hometown team. But when I told her about the Dodgers, she was like the Dodgers? And I'm like, yes, Mom, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And she was freaking out. My dad was super excited. So it was a really good night and, upcoming weeks before I got to go to camp and stuff like that.
Was it, again, a surreal moment getting to go to spring training?
It was, and it was interesting. So like first spring training, the way they have like the locker room set up, I was kind of like in my own row at first. So like I didn't really know many people. Funny enough, the very first person I met in spring training was Emmett Sheehan. So I met him, I played catch with him for my first 2 days there, and then we all know where he's at now, so he's up in the big league club. But it was really awesome. I got to meet all the guys from top to bottom levels, and then I was even fortunate enough to go to the Freeway Series. So I got to go see Dodger Stadium, and I got to pitch in Anaheim, so it was a really great experience, especially for my first year as a Dodger.
Talk about being in that Freeway Series. Was it not cool, but like being around all those big leaguers and like being able to kind of absorb all of that magic with baseball, especially in that stadium?
Yeah, it was awesome. And we only played one game at Dodger Stadium when I was there, but all the guys were great. Almost everybody, either they came up and introduced themselves, or if I went up and introduced myself, they were more than happy to talk to me. You know, I think I had like a 40-minute conversation with Dustin May while we were eating lunch. Like, they're all really great dudes. And, you know, being in Dodger Stadium, I mean, being from the East Coast, I've never been to LA either. So that was the first time I'd ever been to Los Angeles. So it was a really great experience and a really good time.
Have you always pitched, or have you played other positions?
I've played other positions. So believe it or not, I actually caught for a really long time. And then I got to high school, and my freshman year, I wanted to make varsity, and I tried out as a catcher, and there were basically 2 older kids ahead of me. And I was a skinny kid back then. And they're like, like catching's not going to work. You do anything else? And I'm like, oh, I can play a little outfield. I can pitch a little. They're like, oh, why don't you pitch? I was like, okay. So I pitched, and I was throwing like 83, 84 as a freshman. And they were like, yeah, you should stick to this. So I did a little bit of outfield in high school, and then in college I got the DH a little bit. I was still hitting, but definitely when I got to indie ball, and obviously here it's been strictly pitching.
Talk about having Hennessy as a coach, returning this season, and having him now in the clubhouse full time.
He's amazing. I mean, I unfortunately got to miss the first month of the season last year with him, where from what I was told, probably some of the best Tulsa Drillers baseball ever played. But he's a phenomenal leader. I mean, the guy just brings this energy and this excitement to the ballpark. And like, you know, you're having a bad outing, and he comes out to the mound to take you out of the game. And it's not like you like let him down. It's not like, you know, you're upset that he's pulling you. It's like, you know, that he's coming out with the full intention to get you out of whatever situation you put yourself in, and that no matter what happens, he has the full faith in you to do your job. You know, it's, you know, you go and have like a bad outing, let's say, and you're not in the bullpen for the next 5 days, not touching the mound, not getting a chance. Like, as soon as you're available to go, you're up there again. So he has full faith in his entire staff, all position guys, everything.
How do you keep yourself ready when you're in the bullpen? Because you can be called at any moment.
Yeah, so we kind of play it by ear with the starters. We kind of know like how many pitches the starters have and how many they're expected to go. And if things, you know, get ugly quick, we all start moving around. I'm sure you see like, you know, the starter gets hit around a little bit, and you see a bunch of us start stretching and moving around and trying to get hot. But everyone has their own routine. Personally, I kind of just like to stay moving. So like in between innings, I'll, you know, do some arm stretches, try to get a little like jog in. And then if I know for sure I'm going in, I usually pick up a plyo ball and just rip it a few times and then go on the mound and try to get loose. So guys have different ways of doing things, but you see kind of when we were like, okay, the starter might be coming close to the end of their time, that we all start moving around and stuff.